Bulma Brief and my wife Pinhead both walked up to me and they both said come to bed my love right in front of Vegeta and Goku, and then Vegeta blushed and said you have trained us hard enough Master Krillin, you don't have to worry anymore, and I said I know boys, you ready darlings, and then later that night Vegeta could barely sleep because of the noise me and my wives were making during sexy time together. Meanwhile Goku was sleeping like a baby because he figured out a long time ago how to sleep around a bunch of noise, and for nearly 5 days I had sex with my wives and I fed Bulma some good food while I made her feel nothing but love and pleasure many times over. Bulma got up out of the bed naked and then I got up and walked up right behind her and I hugged her waist gently and I held her tightly and I said come back to bed darling, and she said I just need to take a shower, we've been having sex for a while now and you've been feeding me and everything but I know I stink and you still continue to have sex with me, I honestly don't know how you did it this long, and I said simple because that type of stuff doesn't bother me at all, I've smelled worse things, trust me my love. And then Bulma asked me so you never talked about your past much, but now I'm curious, could you tell me a bit about your past and all that? And then I asked her, you sure you want to know who I really am? And then Pinhead stepped forward and I said it's okay my love, she's my wife, we can trust her. And then I said my true name is Leviathan, I'm a half angel and half human that was given a dimension of hell at a very young age, but we don't call it hell, we call it experience of pain, that's what my wife calls it anyway, isn't that right darling? I'm the son of a very powerful archangel that was cast out of heaven for loving a human woman and rebelling against God for it, and father's name was Lucifer Morningstar, and I am his most powerful son. Basically when me and my father went to hell we became very powerful demons so to speak, and I said don't worry Bulma, it's not as bad as it sounds, I punish really bad people mostly, but sometimes an innocent person ends up in our realm, and yes my Cenobites and me do punish them, but I always felt conflicted about it and I never told you because you never asked, but yes anyone that opens our puzzle box and tries to solve it they end up in our hell, even if they are innocent and did nothing wrong to end up there, we still torture them and killed them. I didn't want to have to tell you this but it's the truth, and Pinhead is my hell priest and my wife and I love her very much, I don't want you to hate me Bulma Brief because I'm not what you think I am, I'm not entirely evil. And then Bulma closed her eyes and said I guess I always knew but I just wasn't entirely sure until now, and then I said I love you Bulma, please don't hate me or reject me because of my past and what I was pretty much forced into by my family, please understand that I didn't choose my family and I didn't have much of a choice, and I always felt bad about having to torture all those innocent people and collect their souls just to power our realm. We needed a home because me and my father could never return to heaven, so we were forced to rule hell or be reborn as humans, which is what ended up happening to me. I was reborn in this world as Krillin but with all my powers, so I'm Krillin but I'm also Leviathan. I am sorry Bulma, for what it's worth I wanted to tell you the truth but I was just afraid you would reject me and hate me. And then Bulma kissed me passionately and she said no I love you, I would never reject you. And then I said what I did in my hell was a job and I don't want you to know about it Bulma, it's very unpleasant. And Bulma said I understand, I don't never want to see all that suffering and I imagine it must be a lot. And then Pinhead said you have no idea little girl. And then Bulma asked Pinhead, you were one of his highest ranking people in hell, what are you called exactly and what did you have to do? And then Pinhead said well I like to think of myself as someone that worships pain. To most people we are considered demons but to some we are angels. I like to think of us as beings in the farther reaches of experience. Perhaps one day my love I can show you that experience if you wish. And I nodded no to Pinhead and Pinhead said but we could table that discussion for another time because I sense my king might have other plans for you just like he had other plans for me. And then Bulma asked me so you said you are a type of demon, is this your true faces? And I said well yes Bulma, these are our true human faces but yes we have what you call a demon face and I'd rather not show you our true faces, it might terrify you. And then Bulma said forget, I asked I don't really want to see that then. And then Pinhead said I could show you, and then Pinhead showed Bulma Brief her true Cenobite face and Bulma said wow, are those nails in your face?